Yes, I say it every week, and I'll say it every week till forever, right? Happy Monday. And it is a happy Monday because we're still here and things are shining outside. I'm not one to complain about the weather, but I have to say it at least once a year. Wow, is it hot outside today? If you're watching live here in Sarnia-Lambton, it's about 30 degrees, I think. And that's just the temperature. That's not humidity, everything else. But not one to complain about the weather, especially if you live in southwestern Ontario, wherever you're watching from. We're live in all parts of the world. But here in southwestern Ontario, we have a saying: if you don't like the weather, wait 20 minutes. It will change. That's true. But it's nice out there today. So happy Monday, wherever you're watching from. Please take the time to say hello in the comments so I know you're there. And we like to know where people are watching from. Tell me where you're watching from as well. We are live on different parts. We're live on the show with David Burrows. We're live in my group, the show with David Burrows, also on my Twitter as well. So if you're watching from anywhere else, like the Talk Show Network or Age Friendly Sarnia, where we put this out on occasion, won't see your comments there directly. If you want me to see your comments, you got to be watching. Just come on over to the show with David Burrows page or on YouTube, and I'll be able to see your comments here as well. And who do we have saying hello? Gail says hello all the way from Niagara. Hello from Niagara. I got friends down that way as well. And Alfredo, my goodness, Alfredo, haven't seen you in a while. How you doing? California is where he's at. California is the place you ought to be, right? I have that in my head because I was watching a documentary on the Beverly Hillbillies the other day. Yeah, of all things. Used to watch that show loyally. They were reruns when I was a kid, so that's how old that show is. What have you been doing to keep yourself busy? I know that, well, for example, I don't watch a lot of YouTube, except for learning. But lately, kind of worn out Netflix a little bit, like I think most people have. But YouTube, old documentaries, like I say, on the Beverly Hillbillies, old television shows. I was watching things you didn't know about this movie. I'm watching more YouTube than normal, and I'm watching different things. Like I say, I normally watch the educational stuff. So, you like the tie, do you? Well, the tie is for it's Alzheimer's, and there's a reason why I'm watching wearing the tie. So good that you noticed that. Everything else, okay. I think people, the warm weather is definitely bringing more people out, right? It's tis the season, and I think, the Ontario government, or Canadian government, anywhere weather is warm. Alfredo, I'm curious to know what's things like where you're at in California as far as are people staying in, or is the warm weather like it's always warm there, isn't it? Warm weather is definitely bringing more people out here, but I think for the most part, people are social distancing. I know there was a few things that happened in Toronto. There was a big event and all this stuff, but I think for the most part, people are social distancing. And there's not it's hard to figure out all this clarity of what you can or cannot do. And life as we know it is changed forever. When we come back into the new normal, I think is what it's going to be. And I think some of my guests coming up, Dave Brown from United Way will be joining me. And I'm sure he will talk about how they've adapted and changed and how some of the things, when they get back to the new normal, will be implemented. Online learning is another thing that was said that couldn't be done, but now was forced into being done. Gail says she's working. The coffee news publisher. Oh, that's right, Gail. We have, I knew I recognized the smiling face there. I've seen you around. There you go. That's the power of live streaming. That's the other thing too. I'm chuckling a bit. I see so many people going live, which is fantastic. You should be going live. I've been doing this live thing for 10 years now, and people are trying to figure it out and do some interesting things. They're being very, very adaptive to using live streaming and what you can use it for. So, okay, so Alfredo is church IT support from Southside Tribe in Inglewood, California. We come outside during warm weather. Right, okay. So are they telling you to stay inside? Like you're in the United States, it's handled a little bit differently over there, I guess. So at the end of the day, things are different in all parts of the world. And what I've had the mayor on here talking about the primary control group and our chief of police, etc. And they're really making some tough decisions out there. At the end of the day, it's about the safety first for the public. And they have to take the information they get from the federal and provincial government. It comes filtered down. You know how we say it rolls downhill, right? And then the municipal government has to take it, and they have to try to define what it means and implement things in place. And then do we give out tickets and stuff? I think there's only been don't quote me exactly on numbers, folks, but about 800 complaints here in Sarnia-Lambton officially from the complaint line. That's not including through Sarnia Police, but only about 5 charges have been laid. And here's what I had this conversation the other day with a friend. I was like, well, why would they do that to that person and that person? I'm not going to get specific. Somebody got talking the wrong way, I think, because I think they're being pretty reasonable about all this. I don't think they want to be laying these charges, but if you're not following them and then you sort of sound like you're really not going to follow them, the bylaw officers and the Sarnia Police, they have a job to do. So let them do their job. Okay, COVID-19 update. I've always said the best place to get the information is right from the horse's mouth. Lambton Public Health is a great source for what's happening here in Sarnia-Lambton. So lambtonpublichealth.ca will tell you the latest of what's happening. You can also go to sarnia.ca for this area, of course, and see there's a list of phone numbers there that will tell you things that are open and closed, new guidelines, updated guidelines, anything you want to know about COVID-19 specifically into our area here in Sarnia-Lambton. Go to sarnia.ca and you can get the updates. Out of everything that's gone on for the last couple of months, how long? I don't even know how long it's been. What day is it? I only know it's Monday because I'm doing my show. Other than that, every day seems like it's a Friday, right? But social distancing is still a must. That's at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. I broadcast the Premier of Ontario earlier today, and every day that I do his broadcast, I hear some reporters asking questions, and I get it. They're trying to dig deep and get some information. They want that insider backstage information, but it's the same thing all the time. They keep saying, we have to be safe, social distance. And if you are in a position where you feel that social distancing could be a challenge, wear a mask. That's what I'm hearing. Are you hearing something different? At least in Ontario? I don't know. It's when are they going to open the restaurants and the bars, etc.? Everybody keeps asking, right? I personally think the last on the list, probably, right? What about concerts? I think we're going to need a plan B for those concerts. Even if they were to say tomorrow that, say, for example, I'll say Blue Water Border Fest, say they would say, yep, it's all good. How many people are going to go? What's your confidence level going to be at? What's our confidence level as a society going to be at when they can say we can go back and do these things? We all think about these things differently, and everybody's going to react differently, and everybody's going to have a different opinion on what could or couldn't be done. So, it's interesting times. I know a lot of the same conversation all the time, but important to ask. If you've got some questions, business owners with questions concerning their essential business status, I've been asked to call the hotline that's been created by the city of Sarnia here as well. And again, that you can go to sarnia.ca, and it's the imperative to follow the guidelines that are put out there. They're put out there for a reason. Right? They're not just put there to say, we want to make life hard for you. I mean, the city of Sarnia just cut, again, don't quote me, I think it was like $1.2 million, Canada Day. Just to clarify, Canada Day has not been canceled, folks. Canada Day has not been canceled. There's still a Canada Day. And I believe we still need to celebrate Canada Day. But how we celebrate it, the festivities have been canceled here in Sarnia anyway. And I understand why, but that doesn't mean Canada Day's gone. So you will see some things coming out in support of Canada Day, at least locally here. I'll be doing some things myself. I have some plans in the works, so stay tuned for that. And there's other things we'll be able to do to celebrate Canada Day. I want to celebrate Canada Day. It's my birthday on Canada Day, and I normally work every Canada Day. So this year, it'll be a little bit different, right? Yeah, and Alfredo there, he works at Amazon. Inside Amazon, heroes wear a mask and we wear it well. There you go. Good stuff. So currently right now, to give you the update, and this comes right from Lambton Public Health as of last night, 9:30. Currently 248 cases, 177 recovered, and now at 21 fatalities or deaths, right? And there's still 3 outbreaks happening in the area. Again, some more phone numbers for you to get the information, and online. If you go to the if you're a business and you're trying to figure out if you're an essential services business, here's what I did. I don't know. I might have mentioned this last week. I called 1-800-I-HAVE-QUESTIONS. Firstly, what I did was I went online to the government website there you see on the screen, and I found a list of essential services, and I found myself to be in a couple of those categories, or at least in my opinion. Of course, my opinion is, of course, I want to run my business like everybody else that has a business. And then I called 1-800 answer my questions, and I got some pretty vague answers. So I do recommend you call the number, but keep in mind you're not speaking to lawyers on the phone either, and they're going to try to clarify as much as they can. At the end of the day, I was told that basically I decide if I'm an essential service and fit into one of those categories, and then if a bylaw officer or police officer of sort wants to ticket me because I'm in the wrong for being where I shouldn't be, according to them, they can do that. And then if I don't agree with that, much like a speeding ticket, I can go fight it. So that's kind of where things are at. So I think we're getting closer and closer to, I don't want to say the end because I think the end is far away. And I don't even know if anybody knows what the end of this really looks like. But I think being able to get back out and do some things that we would regularly enjoy is coming, as long as we keep following. All right. Was that a rant? Did I just do a rant? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But anyway, we're going to move on. And I always look forward to my next guest joining me here, Dave Brown from the United Way here in Sarnia-Lambton. David, thanks for listening to my rant.
Oh, I quite enjoy it. It's a monologue. I quite enjoyed it. And you raised some really good points there. Let me throw something else at you. I've heard bantered about 4-day work weeks for everybody. I mean, it was rather than 5-day. And remember, at the turn of the 1900th century, it was a 6-day work week. So what do you think about that?
Well, that won't affect me at all, Dave, because I work every day, and I don't work. This is, but I know what you're saying. Interestingly, you say that though. I did catch something of that the other day. I'll use my son as an example. He's back to work now. He works in a retail store here in town. He worked in a warehouse there, and he's back basically as a greeter. You know, the person that says, you know, please wash your hand, all that sort of stuff. And at 19 years old, he says he's really glad to be back to work, and he's more anxious to be working than he was even before. And he already, in my opinion, had good work ethic. So that's nice to hear that he's not just sitting home collecting the check.
Excellent. That's great.
Yeah,
probably you must be proud of that.
Oh, of course I am. I mean, you know, that's just a good work ethic, I think, is really important, as you know. But let's switch gears back over to you, sir. United Way of Sarnia-Lambton, like everybody else, dealing with the adaptation of things that have come our way. How are you adapting to all of this since last we spoke?
Well, we're adapting pretty good, thanks, David. You know, the 5 of us, it's just a small office, as you know. The 5 of us are all able to log in from home. I've been able to go to the post office a couple of days a week and just throw in the mail in a safe, and then somebody will come in another day and go through that and make the deposits. We're working out very good. Zoom has become our go-to software application now. Yeah. And that's working out.
What's that?
You know, it's working out pretty good for us. We've had 2 board meetings now with Zoom, and it's working out well. We're hoping to get back to the office in the next week or so. We're going to stagger how we work. For example, there's 5 of us. So each of us will work 2 days a week at the office and 3 days a week at home. And so there may be, two separate people working on the Monday from the Tuesday, and two different from the Tuesday to the Wednesday.
Right.
And just kind of phase into that till we're into vacation time, which is not that far away.
Yeah, well, it sort of goes back to what you're saying, maybe a 4-day work week, or maybe it's still 5, but maybe the 5 that you're in varies and rotates. And, going back to the way we were,
right,
is definitely going to change. You even mentioned before, meetings for you often have to, go down to Toronto or out of town for meetings. And that's going to look hopefully a little different for you, which actually is a money saver as well.
Absolutely. I don't know, particularly when my son was younger, I used to miss his ball games and soccer games because I may have been out of town or whatever. But it's always nice to sleep in your own bed and eat out of your own kitchen. So you're right. I could see the number of meetings that I have in conferences from Toronto and Regina or Winnipeg or elsewhere reduced significantly and done on Zoom. And I'm still available for evening meetings here in Sarnia because I'm still in town, and save a ton of money on hotels and meals out and everything. So I can see that being a real possibility, and I cherish that opportunity.
Yeah, right. I think, there's a part of, I guess, call it mental health or stress relief or whatever that looks like. There's a reason why we try to take at least one vacation a year, and that's to get away from work, because even if we love our work, we want to get away from it and change the pace, sunshine, all that stuff, to collect our vitamin D. What's that?
As you get older. And I know you don't want to say that, but I'll say it.
Okay. It's true, right? So maybe a part of this is a positive, in creating less stress at work if we do rearrange working from home. Is if you don't have the boss hanging over your shoulder, as long as the work's getting done, at the end of the day, that's really the bottom line. For you folks there, like I say, you have a small team.
Mm-hmm.
How will this impact the results that you can get as far as the purpose of the United Way?
Yes, in a couple of ways. I mean, we can't really measure the day-to-day work that everybody's doing like we could traditionally, because we've got so much different work to do this year than we've had in the past. For example, your viewers are probably aware that we've been doing a lot of grant applications.
Yeah.
Not only our own compassion fund locally, that's something that we started about 2 months ago, which has had a great success in terms of local corporations and donors getting involved in. But the federal government has had 2 announcements. Some weeks ago, the Prime Minister announced the New Horizon Senior Funding, in which $9 million went to United Ways across Canada. Over $50,000 landed in Sarnia-Lambton, which we were able to distribute through to a number of seniors focus groups. And then more recently, the Prime Minister announced the Emergency Community Support Fund, which is some $350 million to be shared between ourselves, our United Way of Canada, and all the United Ways, Community Foundations of Canada, which includes the Grand Bend Community Foundation, and of course our very good friends, the Sarnia Community Foundation, and the Red Cross across Canada. So, between the 3 of us and, getting reports, funneling through approval processes and whatnot, all takes time. And we're starting now to turn our attention more and more to the fall campaign. We're very concerned about the fall campaign, but certainly in the short term, we're making sure, even though this money is being given to us through the government of Canada and the other Compassion Fund, we really want to make sure we're making the best decisions possible that best meets the needs in our community. And we're delighted that the federal government has that confidence in United Ways across Canada, as well as community foundations across Canada. I mean, we've got 15 people who have boots on the ground right here in Sarnia-Lambton. They know our needs better than people in Toronto or Ottawa would. Yeah. And so they're asking us to turn that money around where it's going to be best used and in a measurable way. We look forward to providing a report to both the federal government and all of our donors on exactly how this money's been spent this past spring and summer, and how good our community is as a result of the great agencies that are getting that funding.
Yeah, well, you sort of answered part of my question. I know that there's a board that makes these decisions, and we've talked in the past before COVID showed up, the importance of the board being local. As you just said, Toronto and Ottawa wouldn't know. Every community has different needs, and some tough decisions are often made there. I mean, there's only enough money to go around for so many. So, and you've gone through that sort of decision making recently. Is because COVID-19 is here, and I know like there's been the Compassion Fund, which has been awesome, and local organizations step up. Mm-hmm. Has this changed the decision-making process in any way?
Yes, it has, because we're committed to both donors and to the federal government. It's one of their criteria that the money has to be turned around quickly. The government and donors have wanted us to get the money into the hands of the agencies as quickly as possible so they can continue to add the quality of service that they are. So as a result, typically we have a 3-step volunteer process where the panels would review agencies and look at their budgets and look at the needs in the community. They make recommendations to our Community Investment Committee, which is another group of local volunteers. And then that goes to the board of directors. With the whole Compassion Fund and the new Horizon Senior Funding and the new Emergency Community Support Fund, that goes right to our executive. Pamela on our staff, her and I review all of the applications right away as soon as they come in. And it's in real time. Twice a day we're looking on. It's actually a form on SurveyMonkey. It's an inexpensive, quick way for us to handle the RFP process. But we review that right away. We phone the agency, we ask them clarifying questions and maybe negotiate something with them. Then we take it to the executive committee, which is made up of 8 people from the executive. And once they approve it, yes or no, then it goes to the board. And sometimes that turnaround could be within 12 or 14 hours. Now, with the Emergency Community Fund, because that money doesn't have to be committed until July 31st, we're now going to the board every Monday. So we're not inundating the board sometimes with 2 or 3 emails a day, every day of the week with recommendations, like we did with the Compassion Fund. That was a little bit different, and it was a maximum of $5,000. The ECSF has got no maximum. We've got over $300,000 in total here in Sarnia-Lambton. So there's no maximum, but we want to have some degree of planning, but at the same time get the money out the door quick to those needy agencies. So that's why it goes once a week, and just to the executive and to the board of directors.
Going back to the Compassion Fund, I mean, we saw, $5,000 here, $4,005. And that's helping people out, or helping those organizations out. And we saw that money go to some organizations that the United Way had never really needed to help before, or some they did. There were some new organizations, I guess, showing up, is what I'm saying, because of this, right?
Absolutely. In fact, about what's interesting is about half the donors who donated to that fund never donated to the United Way before, and about half the agencies who received money had never received money from the United Way before. I know you've got a guest on from the Alzheimer Society coming up later on today's show. They received $5,000, and just an outstanding, out-of-the-box program that they put together. River City Vineyard is another one, received $5,000 to help meet the needs of their shelter, and in particular cleaning supplies in amongst those residences. Mid-Valley Seniors Apartments in Petrolia. So again, not just in Sarnia, but throughout Lambton County. St. Vincent de Paul received a couple of different grants from us. So we're thrilled that we're in a position to do that. And the other new one that we hadn't funded before is Huron House Boys Home. $5,000 went to Huron House, and another $5,000 went to the Brain Injury Association of Sarnia-Lambton. So, I think that's an example of how quickly our board of directors can see the need in our community based on the RFPs and get that money out so that we know we've got a greater community as a result.
Yeah. Now, I'm gonna go in a direction here that I maybe never gone before, and I'm hoping I don't touch a nerve on this. But some people will say that's great. You put the $5,000 into the boys' home, for example. I'll just pick on them, and that's going to help for a little while, but it's not going to save them necessarily all the way down the road. So, is there more coming down the road, do you think, from the government to help? Or is it Like,
Well,
how far does $5,000 is great, but it doesn't go really, really far.
Well, in the case of Huron's Boys Home, it was for a particular program. It's not,
Okay.
that compassion fund wasn't set up to keep agencies afloat forever. It was set up for them to help meet the changing needs and the increasing needs as a result of the pandemic, as was the seniors funding and certainly the emergency community support fund. So it's not set up for long-term sustainability. It's to help the agencies meet the increased needs because of the crisis.
Yeah, and I got that, and I just wanted to put that out there. People have been asking me questions, and I wanted that clarified. So, and it's interesting too, because sometimes we, the media, don't always get things out the way that we want them to get out. So it's nice to clarify those things. The United Way is pretty proud too of the fact that the dollars come in. You and I could do hours of a show on how great this community is, right. But all those dollars coming in stay local. You're pretty proud of that fact.
We're very proud of that. In fact, out of that compassion fund, we did 20 organizations and programs, $99,000, zero administration costs from that whatsoever. Every dollar that we received is being funded out to agencies, and very little administration from both the federal and the provincial government, the federal programs. They understand that we've got some costs, so we're able to take out the Zoom meeting costs out of that, for example, and to set up some of the check preparations and whatnot. They acknowledge that there's a cost to that, and they want to make sure that our costs are being covered. And believe me, they're very, very low, even lower than what our regular administration costs are. But it's something that enables us to charge those programs without it costing our 18 funded agencies, 36 regularly funded agencies down the road. Yeah,
well said. What about contributions? Like you mentioned it a little earlier about how you're seeing contributions come from organizations and people that have never done that before.
Right.
Talk about the employee contribution campaigns that you put on. Has that slowed down or come to a halt because of the situation people are in, or are we still seeing people say, things are a little tougher, but I'm not that bad, I still want to contribute that way?
We're too early in the campaign process for that. Where we are behind, typically by this time we've met with major industry, small industry, large retail management to set up employee campaign for this fall. That has not happened. I know a lot of them, and not only manufacturing and small business, but retail, they've got other things to worry about, including their own sustainability. So United Way campaigns isn't top of mind. But we're very concerned about those employee campaigns. We're very fortunate to live in Sarnia-Lambton, where we've got great employers, great employees, outstanding union support from the Sarnia District Labor Council and others. So, we're hoping that those three pillars of success are going to be there. But we do know that it's going to be a challenge, and United Way isn't top of mind. For example, the Day of Caring, for 26 years, we've had our Day of Caring, 250 volunteers. And I know you've been involved in the past, and you've done features on the show in the past, where we have 250 people coming out and doing the work at the homes of seniors or at agencies, helping those people who might have disabilities, etc. So those 250 people go back to the workforce. And not only do they do outstanding work, great work that couldn't afford to have been done otherwise, but it's typically on a Tuesday. So when they go back to work on Wednesday, Thursday, and even Friday, they talk about what they did. They talk about the appreciation that these people had, the appreciation of the agencies for the work that these people were doing. And they learned about the agency, and they learned about some of the other programs and services that these people depend on. And so that really strikes a chord. And they're seeing, right there, how United Way works in our community and how the agencies work. So that filters through, and we know that has a positive effect on our employee campaigns. We've had to cancel it because more than half of the work is done at the homes of seniors, and a lot of the other work is done at the agencies with people with disabilities and might have immune system issues. So we've had to cancel that. We're hoping to do some mini Days of Caring later in the fall and even into 2021 as it's appropriate and safe to do so. So that's certainly a key piece. We're very hopeful that the Enbridge Car Show will continue. So far, the last I heard, they're still planning on having it. That's September the 12th at the Research Park, just across from Lambton College on Moulin Road. We'll probably market that as our campaign kickoff this year if it's a go. But that raises $18,000 for us. So if that's a no-go, every day that the pandemic goes on, we're losing bingo money. The LCBO Give It to Till campaign. I know some of your viewers have been to the LCBO in July as well as in October. They're asked to support United Way $2 or $5. Our United Way last year, David, got $36,000 from that campaign. So we're grateful to the employees and the customers there. They may be down to just one this year. So we're looking at, perhaps a cut of 50%. That's another $18,000. So right alone, there's 2% of the campaign, or $40,000 nearly. So we are starting to focus more and more on the campaign. You may have noticed an increased social media presence. We're going to do a few other things as some of our direct mail goes out. Some of your viewers would have probably received some of the 700 letters that we just mailed out, asking for people's support, not for the pandemic, but for the regular 18 agencies and 36 programs and services, because they're still going to be here. I mean, this pandemic, sooner or later, we hope it's going to be behind us and we can move on, but kids are still going to need in-school mentoring. People are still going to need financial literacy advice. People are still going to need family and individual counseling and that kind of thing. And that's where we want to start to focus our attention on going forward.
Well, I think it's great. United Way still, moving forward with what they can. And it's not so much that the money affects the United Way as it trickles down into the organization that United Way supports is who it really affects. And, I know as long as you've been, 105 years you've been there now. I know you're really passionate about the United Way, and so is your staff that's there. So thanks for all that you're trying to do your best at. And virtual pay-per-view events, Dave. I'm just saying.
All right. Okay. Well, I might be calling later than offline.
All right. Sounds good. Well, you look like you're taking good care of yourself there in your home office, and I hope your team's doing well. And I always look forward to getting an update from you every month.
And I always look forward to being on the show, David. It's always a pleasure. And thank you to you, and thank you to all your viewers. I did manage to get some sun on the weekend, so I feel good about that too.
Got to get your vitamin D in there, buddy.
That's right.
Thanks so much, Dave. We'll talk soon. Our friend Dave Brown from the United Way of Sarnia-Lambton, adapting as best they can. Everybody's a Zoom expert right now, but he talked also about the Emergency Community Support Fund, which is something new to them as well, coming from the government, etc. So you can find out more about the United Way at theunitedway.on.ca on their website. You saw me showing that earlier. It shows a list of everything that they're supporting, all the organizations, the services that those organizations provide, where your money goes when you make a donation to the United Way. Dave Brown, thanks again to you and your staff for all of your hard work. Well, we talk about adapting in this crazy world. How many times have you heard the word unprecedented in your vocabulary? It's a more common word right up there with no crystal ball. But people are continuing to adapt. And as many organizations all over the world, right here in Sarnia-Lambton, are having to adapt. And the Alzheimer Society of Sarnia-Lambton, no stranger to that. And our friend Marcy-Smids joining us. Hello, Marie.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty good. I miss you.
I miss you too. I miss our coffee lunch. Lunch times. Yeah.
Coffee time and hugs and just talking about what we can do next, right? How are you keeping through all of this?
We are hanging in there. We are adapting in this unprecedented time.
Right? I saw you smirking when I said that word unprecedented, because it's a part of our everyday vocabulary now.
It is. And how are you doing, Mr. IG Wealth Management Walk Ambassador?
Yeah, right. I even got the tie on, my Alzheimer's tie that I bought a while ago.
I didn't even notice that, but now I do.
Yeah, whenever you're on, I have that on there. You can go back and look at all the videos.
I need to get you a pair of our socks, though.
I do need a pair of socks. And I think we should have winter hats too.
Okay, I'm writing it down. Winter hats and socks.
I'm doing really well, and I'm really well. Of course, I'm proud to be the ambassador for this year's walk. That being said, when you asked me I thought I was going to be able to get outside and actually do the walk, right? and then this came along, and so I guess I'm a bit of a different ambassador this year. But let's talk about the IG Wealth Management Walk. How's it going with the fundraising for that so far?
Well, it's not where we were last year, of course. Our goal we set was $45,000 for this year. We did an unprecedented $40,000 last year, which was our best year ever. So we were really looking forward to this being a super year. So we're $1,000 behind where we were last year at this time, but we're not going to have the amount of people coming in and bringing the cash donations that they accumulated like we did last year. So I don't know how we're going to do. It depends.
Yeah. And this is obviously,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, this is obviously going to affect the Alzheimer Society as what they're able to provide as an end result. But kind of on track. And, I got to say, there's one team in there. It's kind of annoying me because my team is in second place and they're in first place with like over $3,000. One team has, how do you beat that?
That's the Alzheimer staff team.
I see.
The Dementia Divas is our team. So that's why. Okay. And there's one staff member, Eilina, who goes all out every year, and she's accumulated a good percentage of that over $3,000. So yeah.
That's fantastic.
So the walk has changed. We're just encouraging people to get up and get moving, do something, do planks, challenge yourself, climb stairs, do something. And what we're going to have on Sunday, it's going to be coast to coast, a live stream. If you go to the Alzheimer Society of Sarnia-Lambton Facebook page, it will be streaming on there. They're going to tell us how to connect that actually on a Zoom call this week. And they have a host, and they're going to be, that you did a video for us. So the videos will be people from coast to coast that are ambassadors or people that are just decided that they're going to do something for Alzheimer's. So you can, go to our Facebook page and check out the live stream of everything that's going on.
Right. Now, coming out of all of this with less money being tossed around, I guess you could say, what kind of changes is the Alzheimer Society do you see having to make, say, 2 months from now?
Well, we're not. We're still delivering the same amount of service, except what everybody else is doing. We're doing, Zoom counseling. We're doing our support group Zoom. So, but I don't know what we're going to have to possibly cut. Come September, we're going to lose probably $120,000 this summer because we have our walk, which was 45, and we'll be lucky if we accumulate 15. Our golf tournament accumulated about 30 grand, so we are not having our golf tournament. And then it's 5 o'clock somewhere, our new non-gala gala. We are going to be doing a virtual event for that. And it's actually, I think it'll be quite good, but I don't think we're going to make the kind of money we were planning on making from that. And that was another $40,000. So we're in the neighborhood between $120,000 that we're going to be shy this year.
Right.
So there will have to be some decisions made. September, October, depending. I mean, do we get a second wave of this, or are we going to be able to do a few things in the fall? So we're just like everybody else. Everything's kind of on hold, and we're waiting. We're waiting and seeing.
No crystal ball.
No crystal ball. I wish I had one.
But it sounds like you're adapting okay. I mean, you talk about the event coming up in September, a virtual event. What's that going to look like? It's
going to be us partnering with a restaurant, and people can still order their tickets. And they're going to be getting a meal. They're going to be getting some beverages and a goodie bag. And there could possibly be some entertainment live stream, which I need to talk to you about. I wonder who can hook me up with that.
I don't know. I might know a guy.
I might know a guy.
At the end of the day, I mean, this conversation that we're having is no different than any conversation I've had with other organizations when I have them here on the show every week.
Yeah.
And it's having obviously that impact. So, we could go on about that, but everybody's having that impact. But in this case, this isn't necessarily just affecting the victim suffering from Alzheimer's or dementia. It's affecting their families as well, because the families also rely on the services of Alzheimer's, correct?
Well, more than half of the people that use our services are care partners. So those are spouses or sons and daughters of people that are living with dementia. So that's more than half of our client list are, because we do support groups for care partners as well. So it is affecting a lot of people. We've had a bit of a surge in people needing support because people are, they're shut in with people that have dementia. And, yourself, when you're confined to a smaller space and you're used to going out at least a little bit, that you need different coping skills and you need more support when you're trying to deal with somebody that has dementia. On the other hand, we have people that have spouses that are in long-term care and they're not able to see those people.
Yeah.
So that's another issue. So, and older people are very much afraid right now. Like, they are the people that are most likely to contract COVID-19. So there's a fear there. And then them having dementia, that is just another added dimension to being shut in.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's nice that at least the services so far are still in place, and you're just having to adapt on how you deliver those services. And thank goodness for live streaming, Zoom, webinars, all that sort of stuff. And how has that learning curve been for you and your staff to adapt to this webinar and live streaming thing?
Well, we were using Zoom for certain things previous to this, so we had a good understanding. It's been a bit of a challenge for our clients because some of them are older, but surprisingly, they took to it once they got used to it. For people that didn't have, digital devices, we've been able to give them iPads to use for group meetings. We have like cafes that we do. We have virtual tours. They go to museums and places like that. And you had the United Way on previous. We were one of the lucky recipients of one of the $5,000 grants. So what we did with our money was we created activation kits for people. So they had things to stimulate the mind and to keep people busy. If they liked woodworking, we put in a birdhouse and various other things. And we're actually sending out another wave of those activation kits on Friday. And we partnered with Metro, London Road, Frank Scarpelli and Company. They gave us muffins and cookies to put into the activation kits. So we've adapted in that way. The only program that we're not doing now is the day program. And actually, the renovations have gone forward. We acquired a lot more space in our building, and it's gorgeous up there. So when we're allowed to open and have our day program up and running, it's going to be a really nice space for people. It has a kitchen, it has a lounge area. So it's going to be good.
Well, it does. It sounds like you're adapting well. And, of course, I'm very appreciative. My father has the Alzheimer's, and some family members have used the services as well. So really developed a whole new appreciation over the years for the Alzheimer Society. So thanks to you and your staff. And thanks for your time today, Marie. Is there anything else you want to put out there before I let you go back to the world?
The only thing I want to put out is if you would like to sponsor a walker or sponsor a team, just go to www.allsgiving.ca, and then you will click on Ontario and then click on Sarnia, and then you can just make a donation there. We'd like to hit the $15,000 mark. That would be helpful. It would be a fraction of what we would have generated, but I'm not going to complain because I was thinking if we got 10,000, we'd be lucky.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, folks, I'll just say, You can go to that website, or you can go over to my Facebook, click on my link, and donate to my team. The money still goes to them, but we want to win.
You're such a little competitor.
I'm not even coming close to what we did last year, but we're trying.
I know. But one last thing, because you got off easy on your ambassadorship this year, you know that you're going to have to be ambassador when we have a real walk again next year, right?
You know, I'm in every year if you want me there. I'm happy to do that and be a part of that in that way. So that's not, you don't even have to ask. You just have to say, David, it's on this date. All right.
There you go. You are a big supporter of the Alzheimer Society and of actually many nonprofits in this community. You do good stuff for people. And for that, we are lucky to have you.
Thanks. I appreciate those words. I'll send you the $20 later.
It'll be
See, this interview's over now, folks. We're just having fun now.
It'll be a chai latte or something, or maybe like an alcoholic beverage this time.
Can always be talked into that. Just ask around. Marie, thanks so much. I appreciate you. And, virtual hugs to you, your family, and all the staff for continuing. There you go. Right on. Marie, Marcy-Smids from the Alzheimer Society here in Sarnia-Lambton. One of my favorite people to have on the show, but one of my favorite people to see in person, which I'm missing that. And I know many of us are missing those people in our lives. So it's nice to know that we still have organizations like the United Way, the Alzheimer Society, and whatever organization that affects you personally in your life. They're still out there, folks. And, if you're in a position, we're all in different financial positions right now. And I get that, right? Some would say some are better off than others. If you're in a position to help. And maybe you still contribute to the place that you always have, but maybe you can help a little more and reach out to some other organizations that you've never supported before and just go, you know what? My money only goes so far, but maybe I can spread it around a little bit more and help everybody out. And that togetherness, right? That one thing, I read a story the other day of somebody who went out and bought groceries for 3 of his friends that had been laid off and bought them all groceries. And he said, that's not going to save the world. But if we all did a little bit like that every day for those who need it, then we're really going to be helping out. It's that combined tiny little effort from all of us, but combined is really going to make the difference. Thank you to my friends, Dave Brown at the United Way for joining. And also, of course, my dear friend, Marie Marcy-Smids from the Alzheimer Society for being here and all the work that they do. And thanks to all of you for being here. I do appreciate all of you. Coming up in November, it's going to be 9 years of the show. Pretty excited for that. Should we plan a special party? It's November. Should we be able to have a party by then? I think so. Keep an eye out for that. I do want to say thanks to, again, all of you viewers for being here. I really do appreciate you. That's all the time we got for you this week. Have a great week and an even better weekend. I'll see you next time right here on the show. Bye for now.